All right, so here we go, number 6. I'll write with blue just so we got a little bit of a difference here. Okay, so the problem is x squared. Oh, shoot. Okay, so here we go. The problem is x squared minus 5x plus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, so we had a request to do the vertex first, the x equal negative b over 2a. One thing I can do again is label this ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay, and I know that if I want to find the vertex, that it is x equal negative b over 2a, and that's up in the instructions, so don't forget tomorrow if you get stuck, that's going to be on the test too. So it's going to be right there so that it's easy for you just to go up there and look. All right, now if I'm plugging this in, if you think about it, my a down here on the bottom is going to be 1, right? What is my b in this problem? Negative 5, so that's going to be up here. So negative 5 is a positive 5. Divided by 2 is going to be 2.5, okay? So my vertex is going to have an x value of 2.5, okay? Now, if you've got your calculator, and I didn't bring mine, but I actually made the key for this, I think it was this morning or this morning, that's when I emailed it out. Here's what I did. I didn't feel like plugging in 2.5 myself. I could put my calculator on ask, but I also could do this. If I want to know the y value that goes with 2.5, and again on your test it's going to be a whole number, it won't be a decimal like this, it's just when you change numbers on something to make a review, it just doesn't always work out like you want it to. But what you could do is, this problem was x squared minus 5x plus 4. What I could do is get my calculator out and plug in, you could type in 2.5 and then you could hit x squared if you've got a graphing calculator. And then you could put minus 5, and so like you type the 2.5 squared in, then you hit your subtract, and then you could put 5 times 2.5, and if you put it in parentheses, the calculator knows that you're multiplying, and then plus 4. So you could type it in just like that on your home screen, not go to the y equal if you don't want to. The other way to do this would be type the equation in and go to ask, and I'll show you that after we get through with the video. But I could do this, and when I do this, I end up getting negative 2.25. Y'all see if that's what you get. I'm going to turn the video off. I'm going to go ahead and graph that point at 2.5, negative 2.25. This is going to be my vertex. I'll graph in green, I guess. Now it's going to be hard because it's kind of hard to show that kind of detail with this fat old stylus here. But it's like somewhere down here, in between 2 and 3 down there at the bottom, right? It's kind of hard to even see it on the screen because it's so tiny on the screen even. All right, so that's my vertex. One thing I do know about my vertex is, doesn't my axis of symmetry run through it? So it might be helpful, even though I don't ask you what is the axis of symmetry, I could go ahead and draw that dotted line down through that vertex, and that's going to help me, get points. When I find a point, remember how I can count over the same distance on the other side? It's going to help me graph this thing in a minute. I'm going to kind of move backwards. Since we started at the bottom, let's talk about our y-intercept now. What's my y-intercept here?
Oh, it's what do you call that? Where's
it's
the problem? 4, yeah.
Yeah, it's 4. It's if the equation is x squared minus 5x plus 4 equals 0. Man, this is just not picking up. The c value here, the number, that's my y-intercept. Now notice though, how do you have to write it?
0, 4.
Yeah, you have to write it as 0, 4. Let me go graph it first. If I go graph it up here, the y-intercept is 4. That might actually help me write the point down, because if I name that point, isn't that x equals 0 and y is 4? So I recommend that as you find this stuff, you graph it, especially with these x-intercepts and y-intercepts. The biggest mistake that I expect to get is that people are going to flip those numbers. But the thing about it is, these are such important points. We really kind of need to get this straight, okay? Because they're some of the main features of the graph that I need to know. By the way, if I've got the y-intercept and I've got my axis of symmetry there, couldn't I go graph the point on the other side that's the same distance away and get another good point for my graph? if you look, 4 is 2.5 away from my axis of symmetry, so if I go 2.5 on the other side, I know I got a point right there. And that's going to help me draw my graph better. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. Okay, well, what I was hoping to have happen is that when I clicked off the eraser, the rest of the stuff would come back, and it hasn't. Oh, you're right, I am still on the eraser, thank you. Pencil, there we go. Yay, thank you, Jaden, thanks. Okay, so now let's continue. We've got our y-intercept, we've got our vertex, now we need our x-intercepts. We kind of got to know that x-intercepts are the same thing as what? My x-intercepts are solutions, okay? Now, you have a choice here. You could use the quadratic formula, but I set them up both on this review and on the test where they would factor easily, and they're similar factoring problems. If you look at this one, all I did was pick another one that factors similarly to this. I'm trying to find things that multiply to give me 4 and add to give me -5. And on the one I pick on the test is going to be like this. Wouldn't it be 4 times 1 would be 4, but they don't add up to -5, so wouldn't it be -4 times -1 is +4, and -4 plus -1 is -5? Okay, and so the one you got on the test is like this. It might be x squared minus 6x plus 5, or it might be x squared minus 7x plus 6. It's just one off like that, okay? So kind of know that. That will help a little bit. So I take these two numbers and I can factor saying it's x minus 4. Shoot, come on, take x minus 4, and then the other one is x minus 1. And remember, to solve, we take the two factors, we set them equal to 0. And then I solve it by saying if two things multiply to give me 0, either the first one is 0, x minus 4 could be 0, or maybe the second one was 0, x minus 1 is equal to 0. And I solve each one for x. This is back to our factoring days that we're kind of going here. So if I solve each one, like on this first one, I could add 4 to each side, and I'd get x equal 4, wouldn't I? Let me go graph that, x equal 4. That's right here. I'll put them in purple just so we can tell where the x-intercepts are. That's a point on my graph. Very sloppy looking point the way I wrote it. And then I can go solve for x over here and add 1 to both sides. And I get x equal 1. Man, if this thing ever took my marks, I would not know what to do. So I'll go graph that one. That answer is an x-intercept. How can I kind of know that I got those right? Or have a good idea that I got them right?
Parabola.
Huh? Makes a parabola. What were you saying, Luke? There's a couple of answers.
Did you say check?
I could check in my calculator, but let me ask you this. If I've got an x-intercept, shouldn't it be the same distance away from the axis of symmetry as the second x-intercept?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's one thing I know is kind of going good for me here. So now the graph is another check. So I'll just go connect all these points the best I can, and I kind of missed one of the x-intercepts. But there's my graph right there. Now I still need to write my x-intercepts up there on that first line. So let's go write them. Now if it's an x-intercept, for instance, look at that 1, the one that's sitting at x equal 1. Isn't that point x is 1, y is 0, right? And the other one was 4. So x is 4, y is 0. And one of the ways that I can kind of help myself here if I kind of forget about how to write those is to actually graph them and say, what's that point? Do you also remember that for like x-intercepts, the opposite variable was always 0 on an intercept? So on an x-intercept, your y value should be 0, right? There's another way to make sure you get them in the right place. On my y-intercept, my opposite variable should be 0. So if it's a y-intercept, x is equal to 0. So that's kind of some ways that you can try to get those things in the right spot if you have trouble with that. Luke, got a question? Or?
So does 6 count as 5 problems or 4?
It actually counts as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It counts as 5 problems, which means that overall there's 5. Yeah, so that would even make each part worth a little less, okay?
Very
So.
good.